My name is Georgi Gradev. I'm the founding partner of SILA Lawyers, which has 6 international offices, and we are dealing exclusively with sports law. My office, the one I run, is in Sofia, Bulgaria, European Union, as you know, and we are dealing mainly with litigation in FIFA and CAS.
Great. First time in Africa, Nigeria?
Actually, I was raised in Africa, but in Northern Africa. I was raised in Morocco. Then for some time, I lived in Algeria with my father. He was ambassador of Bulgaria in Algeria. So I'm half African, by the way, but it's my first time in Nigeria and first time in Central Africa. And I find it very hot.
Welcome to Africa. What brings you to Africa is the Football Law Annual, an initiative that is enhancing sports law, football law understanding among students. How vital is this kind of initiative?
Well, I'll first of all surprise you by saying that what brings me to Africa is Pius and his amazing crew. These guys are doing a great job in Nigeria and in whole Africa, protecting players' rights, defending clubs when it's necessary, and they're very much aware of all FIFA practice and law, so they are a very reliable source. So that was the first thing that brought me to Africa, because if I don't have the foundation, I would not come. So Pius and his crew are really great foundation to be here. And the second thing is the topic we are going to speak about, which is the football cases in FIFA and CAS, the law, and how it can be implemented to the specific nature of disputes that exist in Africa in particular.
Great. For a student who's taking part or who has taken part in the FLAM initiatives, what do you think they carry out of this competition? What do you think they carry out of this initiative?
These competitions are mainly educational. So if an arbitrator like me in this case would just issue marks, grades, without providing any feedback, it would be moot. And that's why I'm here. I would like to provide feedback to the students so they can learn some specifics which they cannot even find in the books. I'd like to provide my experience of being 20 years in the profession so that they can take something out from it and go home with more knowledge. It's like the Olympics. It doesn't matter who wins. It matters the participation and the education in this case.
Wonderful. At the end of it all, of course, everybody will go away having understood a thing about contractual disputes, about how to deal with the regulations. But the bigger challenge is how much further or how much quicker should Africa reach towards getting into those spaces where they can also say, yes, we can push the decisions that matter for our athletes.
But actually, that's on Pius and his crew and keep your guys like them. The more they work, the more they develop, the more Africa will develop. It's the same with Europe. The moment we appeared, other lawyers like me, that's when the sports law start developing. So the development of sports law is not depending on the disputes themselves, but on the people who are dealing with the disputes. That's why it's our primary goal to prepare the future sports lawyers in Africa so that they can raise to the level they need to be. And this will actually help clubs and players also to develop, because they are learning from the case law, which is created by Pius and his wonderful crew.
Great. Over the time, how much movement have you been able to see? There were bigger challenges a few years ago. Do you think now clubs, athletes, lawyers are able to deal with this kind of challenges much better now?
What you mean, lawyers from Africa?
Yes, please.
Well, yes. The fact that we see the name of African lawyers, again, I have to mention Pius and his wonderful crew, on decisions, it's a clear indication that we have more people from Africa who are willing to study sports law and are working well in sports law. And I can tell you one more thing. It's very important, the ethics of the lawyers in which we are going to deal with this, because we have seen in the past some cases of lawyers who were not ethical, and this distorted the trust between client and lawyer. And that's why I think that Pius and his gang are a really good example, because they have the ethical standards that is required by such a lawyer. What I mean in practical terms, we have seen lawyers from Europe, not from Africa so much, but we have seen also from Africa, charging enormous fees. I can say 30% of the case, which is not normal, or some of them even embezzling the money. We had a case with a lawyer from Belgium who actually signs the paperwork with the African player, and then he gets all the money and disappears with the money. This should not happen because this is losing the trust in our work. So that's why we need more young lawyers with different mentality, different approach to polish that. And by the way, FIFA also addressed that issue by creating a bank account registration form so that the client can get the money directly on his account. But that's exactly because of these cases with African players. So the ethical standards must be very high.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Georgi. The GOAT, as always. It's a pleasure meeting you. I'm very excited, by the way. Very, very.